be when I go back home. That first week after I go back home, I'm starting working with 3 different organizations working with addicts. So I'll be able to give you that information maybe in a few months' time. But I do know that the research that I've seen, there's not an awful lot of research being done at the moment into yoga for recovery. But I've seen one piece of research that I love, and it talks about the using yoga as part of a recovery program can increase or reduce the chance of relapse by about 30%. So it does really help people to be stronger.
It is a very difficult question to answer, but I can give you examples of clients that I have seen and still see. For cocaine, for example, I have a client who stopped taking cocaine after one session, but came back for reinforcement because it's so important to reinforce the treatment so that it's more lasting. That was probably about a year ago, and he's come back to see me because he's got the aftermath issues, problems with relationship in his family, lack of self-esteem, confidence, and I'm working with him, counselling him, not with the hypnotherapy now, but counselling him. I have similar cases with alcohol as well, where they've actually given up, but they come back for the other issues after a period of time. I've got a young man who I stopped taking cannabis 2 years ago. As a student, he was going to go and do his master's, and he wanted to stop the addiction before he went abroad to do a master's. And it's 2 years later that I see him again now to help him with his self-esteem and confidence. And of course I was able to say, have you come back to see me about the cannabis? Oh no, I haven't done that again. It's just the way I feel now about myself. He had depression after finishing his studies. He didn't sort of feel he got any direction in life. So he's come to see me to build him up again. So yes, there are obviously people that come for treatment that you never see again. And hopefully you don't see them because it worked. You know, who knows?
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. I wanted to ask Mary, you spoke about the id, ego, and superego. And I just wanted to clarify one thing. We hear about id all the time, but you said it was instinctual. And so can one presume that it's coming from over a couple of past lives that becomes your instinctual ego for the present life, which is a part of your past life makeup? Or how would you explain that? And then you said ego comes through the experiences during the lifetime. And the superego is the judgmental ego that keeps things in checks and which balances out. So even that, I would like to know about the superego a little bit more, if you could explain, please, because judgmental and balancing out in terms of us, external environment, internal environment, what? Thank you.
Yes. Well, as I said, this is research done by Sigmund Freud, which is many years ago. But it's a way of explaining the internal workings of your conscious and subconscious. And the id is about our natural instinct, like you were saying about, I want a drink. I want to do the bad things. The ego trying to do the right things, and then the superego like a judge between the two. I often think that perhaps you've experienced having an argument with yourself about something, where you say, I think I'd like to do this, but no, I don't think I should. That's a bit of the id and the ego You mentioned past life. That's quite possible. I mean, issues that we deal with hypnotherapy, for example, eating too much. Why do I crave chocolate, for example? Instances where it's been so very difficult to pinpoint and make that change. We have to understand exactly where it came from. So we might regress to young years, but it has been shown that regression to a past life is responsible. And once you understand what's happened in a past life, you can begin to deal with it and understand it and make that change. If the id is the instinct, then it's going to be the instinct within all of us. And the super ego is about our right or wrong. And there will be an imbalance within different individuals. But it is the complexity that we have to deal with in amongst everything else that's going on in our head. I don't know whether that helps you answer it. Okay.
Thank you for the talk. It was lovely. Can you explain to me the fine line between enabling an addict and helping them? Because this word enabling has been something I've come across quite often of late. I've been told, I've heard, where do you help and how do you help? And can be accused of enabling them by supporting them, even emotionally.
I would say the person that comes to see me has reached a plateau. They want the change, but they don't know how to do it. And so the counselling and talking will help them to start with. They need to accept the fact that they want to go ahead with the hypnotherapy session, to accept that it's going to be like meditation, that connecting with their inner self, and that it's the inner self that will talk to the conscious to make the change. It's not going to happen from me. It's going to happen within them. I'm just a catalyst, an initiator for that to help. If the person doesn't really want the change, if they don't want it to happen, it won't. I've had a smoker come to see me 3 times who couldn't stop. And he said to me on the 3rd time, he said, you know, there's a part of me that really doesn't want to stop. And I said, well, that is the part of you that won't let you stop. So you're actually wasting your time coming to see me, because until you want that change genuinely within yourself, within your heart, it won't happen. So we're facilitators, really. Does that help? Does that help? You want to say something?
Yes, so I mean, the way that I was trained is that everybody has the resources within themselves, and your job is to bring those resources out. So it can be really tempting because, you know, I was a manager for years and I want people to get well. There are times when I really want to jump in and tell them how to get well, but that would be how I would get well. So it's for me to find out how they would get well, what they already know, to bring it to the surface so that they can do it. So it's that the facilitation and, you know, the building on the resources they've got, but to undermine the part of them. It's always a part of them that's doing something, and there are very specific techniques to understand what the part is trying to do, because the part of them that does the bad behaviour has a reason for doing it. It might be to numb them off, or it might be to not acknowledge something. So the work that we do is with the part as well. And when we were talking about the sort of superego, and I mean, the unconscious is responsible for so much of what happens every day, that if you picture it as the elephant, then the conscious is the rider sitting on top of the elephant trying to steer it in a new direction. And in order to do that, we're talking to the elephant, you know, because the rider's got its own thing going on, but we're talking to the subconscious and trying to attract it in a different direction. Unless you make that future so delicious that the elephant wants to walk that way, the rider doesn't stand a chance at all.
I work with a lot of families, and so parents especially, but parents, siblings, all family members go through, am I helping? Am I not helping? And this is what I ask every person to do. Call me before you make the decision of what you're going to help with. And are you helping aid the disease of addiction? Are you giving them money for drugs? Or are you trying to help towards their recovery? I don't know if that helps. Okay, thanks.
Money-wise, just to help to live. You
Yeah.
have no control where they
Right.
take the money. And my understanding of the id and the ego, the superego, is on a very physiological point of view, from the brain's point of view. The id is your reptilian brain, the very instinctual brain, which now has been proven. A lot of the cells, we can go back generational.
Yeah.
Up to 7 generations have memories. That could be behind our reptilian brain, which is just about feeling good in that moment in time. The ego, what I would understand, would be your emotional world, which has been impacted by you by life, and how we are triggered off by the emotions that we haven't worked through. And obviously our superego, which is your intellect, your higher self, the frontal lobe, which is where we've been to understand and make decisions to possibly deal with these things. And all of this is where there's a breakdown with those 3 brains working together. And it could be over a period of time, obviously, and obviously the drugs and the alcohol, again, impacts that. But from people around who with love, as you say, is, it's a tough one, because that's a process. To get to the point of recovery is a process, and does need a lot of support. And nowadays, this whole fine line of what is enabling, what's support, what is loving, what is caring. Do you let them, this is where I've come across quite a lot of questions around that, because people have different opinions on that. Again, based on their own everything is based on your own associations of how you experience life.
And it really depends on the individual. And so what I would recommend is get someone that could view the situation from afar. So not a family member, but maybe a professional therapist even, just to get better direction, because each individual case is its own. If the person's 50, or if they're 80, or if they're 15. So every situation is different.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I'll talk to you afterwards
Yeah,
if you
I'd
want.
love to.
Okay.
Please.
Okay.